Thank you. Presidents, Rotarians, first of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Madhu for inviting me. Actually, he's been following with me for almost more than a month or so. And he was very particular I should come. So I said, okay, since I was coming to Chennai for the Tamil Varsha purpose, so I'll stay back for 2 more days and be available this evening. Thank you so much for inviting me. As he said, we have been researching on this knowledge of India, which we call as Bharat Gyan. So just take a brief 1 minute to see what this land is all about. This land has been a gateway to knowledge, not just to this land of India, but to the whole world. And our effort in Bharat Gyan is to experience this knowledge. It's not just to see or read, but the concept is Anubhava, experience this land. This land has a very long civilization where man has walked the sands of time. Can you just switch off these slides? Will be better visible. This slides will be better visible. It's okay. If you're not okay with the slides, I'm fine by it. That's great. Thank you. This is one of the longest continuous surviving civilizations of the world, where man has walked the sands of time for well over 8,000 years. And this land has got unity in diversity. You see, this has been a common statement, but that's really the strength of this land. With a variety of ethnic groups, and each of them have left their imprints on the landscape of this land. That's the beauty of this land as a whole, which shows the diversity. Let's look at the names that India has got. In the constitution itself, we say India, that is Bharat. How do these two names come from? What do these two names mean? India and Bharat. In the northwest of India, we have the Sindhu Nadi, which we now call Indus, because when the Persians and Arabs came this side eastwards, say a few thousand years back, 2,000, 3,000 years back, in their language then, sir and her were interchangeable. So the Sindh became Hind, and from Hind came in India, Inde, everything. So that's how we got the name from our neighbors. As far as the name Bharat is concerned, there have been many prominent kings in this land, like this particular king of this land, and we all think it's named after them. But there's another view to it, namely, it's called Bharat after another very ancient king, Jadabharata. This is mentioned in the various texts of the ancient texts of the land. Prior to this time, it's called Ajnabam, the undefeated center of the world. Every part of the world is a center, of course. Is there? But we take a slightly different meaning to it. Of course, this is also there in the ancient texts. Ba means light. That's why we got Bhaskara for sun. And light denotes knowledge. And Ratha, like the word Rati, one is beautiful, one who is pleasurable. Ratha means one who is connoisseur of knowledge, one who is immersed in knowledge. So this land, the people of this land call themselves Bharat, meaning land where people relish knowledge. That's why we got this name, because it's a land of knowledge. Now let's see what this land is. Of course, we say in a modern way, you can say it's a land that's going to spread knowledge. So it's basically been a land of knowledge is what Bharat has all been. Now, what we've done is we have done different capsules, what we call subject capsules of research. Probably in about 108 different subjects we have done research on. Just take a glimpse of one subject for the day, because they say 20 minutes is the time. So let's take one subject. That's Enigmatic India, which is what Mr. Madhu wanted. This land has been an enigma, not just outsiders, but Indians themselves. And when you say enigma, we have various images of the land. Obviously, the most popular image of India world over is the Taj Mahal. And with a lot of Maharaja in this land, obviously. All over the land, we got Maharajas. And snake charmers, yes, at every street corner, that's what people think of India. And elephants, again, all over. Yes, cows. Yes, we do have them also. And poverty, unfortunately, in the last few hundred years, we have had a sad state of poverty. But all this is changing now with a new resurgence. Probably started off by this. But when we see the images, when did this panorama of images come about this land? Especially for the European mindset. If you look at it, one of the early travelers to India, about 700 years back, was this person named Marco Polo, who was the first traveler out of Europe, especially when Europe was coming out of the Dark Ages. The first travel, he traveled all over South Asia, Southeast Asia, and finally came to Malabar. before going back to his homeland. And when he went back, he carried tales of the lands that he visited. And then he wrote a book of those times, okay, about the travels, which became a bestseller of those days, because the early days of book writing of those days. And this image that he gave of India dominated the European minds for the next 300-400 years, or probably 500 years and thereon. And in his description of this land, he writes that this is a land with millions of precious gems, milli, because Italian you say milli, so it's milli of precious gems, milli of gold coins was what you get in India, of all the lands that he visited, and milli of fertile land, fertile country, and milli of amazing people, which is why for Europe coming out of dark ages, they couldn't imagine that a land could be so prosperous, for them, which is why they dubbed him as Marco Milli. That's how it came to be. And later, also if you see, when the British came here, they observed that this land had a prosperity, especially the region between the Indus and the Satluj rivers had high value of prosperity. Elphinstone writes about the prosperity of this land. So this land has repeatedly been prosperous, which he actually echoes the words of the Greek writers who came along with Alexander, who also recorded the history, because that's where they visited, that part of the land. So everybody speaks of the prosperity of this land. Now, what happened to this prosperity is a question mark, because today we speak of India as a developing nation, underdeveloped nation, poverty, etc. Then what happened to this prosperity is a question. And what happened was, the answer to this does not really lie in India. It lies in Turkey. The fate of India, the history of India was not changed in India but changed in Turkey. This is what we realized when my wife and myself we had been to Turkey, spent almost 3 weeks doing research on India in Turkey. There's a place called Constantinople, Constantia, which became Istanbul when the Arabs took over the land. Because Constantinople or Constantia was the second most powerful city in the Christendom after Rome. And when it became Istanbul, when it was taken over by the sultans, the trade route of Europe to India was cut off. And Europe needed to trade with India because India was the largest trading partner of the whole world. 30% of the world trade emanated from India. That's what it was. We got the figures, it's all there in a book called Youth on India. Those what you can see that there. Okay, so they wanted to look for a route. So what they did is they started looking for a route to India. The first person to try was Diogo Chao. He tried, he failed. Then came Bartholomew Diaz. He took a ship and came towards Africa, but then his ship sank near Cape of Good Hope. Then it came to Covilla. No, see, here Bartholomew Diaz, he took a ship and he came towards India. But before he could cross the southern edge of Africa, his ship sank. That's why the place is called Cape of Good Hope. Anybody who crosses that is good hope. Otherwise, it's no hope at all. So it's like that. So after that came Covilla, he also couldn't do it. Then came Christopher Columbus. He takes a large ship of his time. That's when he knows that the earth is round. So he decides to circumnavigate the earth to reach India. And what does he find? In his opinion, in his log, he does find India. That's why it's called West Indies. That's why the Native Americans are called Red Indians. Till he died, he did not think he found a new world. He found only India. He was very clear about it. That's what he found. It's only later Amerigo, his next in command, who found America. So that's what it was. So the misnomer stays today. Finally, it came upon Vasco da Gama. He writes in his logbook, Maritime. It's there in the Maritime Museum of Lisbon in Portugal. He writes that he takes the largest ship of his time and comes along the west coast of Africa, afraid to lose sight of land. And when he comes over the Cape of Good Hope, there he sees ships, 10 times the size of his ship, Indian ships. And in the midst of them, he comes to India, navigated by an Indian navigator by name Kanha, probably Gujarati. And that's where he comes to the Malabar coast, to the port of Samutrai, whom we now call Zamorin. It's actually Samutra because he was the lord of the seas on Malabar, so that's where he lands first. Today we say in most of history books that Vasco da Gama found the sea route to India. But there he writes in his logbook that he came in the midst of Indian ships which were 10 times the size of his ship. So that's how Europe came to know of India. And it was not just Europe, everybody was looking for India then. They're looking for India in India, East Indies, West Indies, Red India, Indonesia, everywhere. It's like the proverbial pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. That's what this land was. It was for knowledge, for prosperity, from all perspectives. That's what they're looking at. Because West has always looked at India, not just for spices, because spice is just one small commodity. Looking for treasures, wisdom, and a whole host of them. First it was Alexander who came, and he took back what? Not gold or silver, but steel from India. Then came the Arabs. They took many things, including mathematics. Christopher Columbus went searching for India, was everywhere. So that was the way today we look at some place like America or some other part of the world as the place to be in. India was the place to be in for thousands of years. And it's been an enigma then, it's been an enigma the last few hundred years, and more so now. In our effort of Bharatya, we are trying to understand this concept of enigma that India has been from a variety of perspectives. So any questions I'll be happy to take, and I can sort of intersperse question and answer time along with this.
It's better you proceed.
You proceed, is it? Good, I'll do that. When I said Indian ships were 10 times the size of the ship that Vasco da Gama had, the biggest ship of his time, the first question that occurred to my mind was, is really Vasco da Gama saying the truth? Of course, he's written it in his logbook. It's there in the Maritime Museum in Lisbon. But is he saying the truth? I wanted to find out. That means Indian ships have the capacity of being that size. Why did India need that size ships? Did they really have? Or is he saying something out of some sort of fiction? I wanted to find out. Then I looked at the word navigation. The very word navigation, which is the English language, navy, navigate, all that comes from the Indian word, Sanskrit navgat, and the Tamil word navai. Including the biblical phrase Noah has its etymological root similarity with navai, now. And obviously the oldest port, geometrically designed port, is in India, in Lothal, which goes back to about 4,500 years. My wife and I had a good opportunity of going there, getting into that and working there. It's a beautiful port, geometrically designed port. It's about 2.5-3 hours southeast of Ahmedabad. It's an inland port because it has to be fed by river waters. Beautiful port. Means they have to balance the waters. It's not a seaport, it's an inland port. Even then it was an inland port. 5,000 years back it was built. So the water has to be balanced geometrically. The whole township was built around this port. It's a huge port like this. And when you look at the ship size comparison for next thing, I wanted to see what is the size of the ships that Vasco da Gama used vis-a-vis the Indian ship sizes. So I've just made a chart for easy comparison. See, if each cube is 10 meters. Santa Maria is the ship that Christopher Columbus took to go towards the west. That's the ship that he took. Look at this ship. It's about 25 meters. Then comes Sao Gabriel. That's the ship that Vasco da Gama took to come to India along the west coast of Africa, afraid to lose sight of land. That's what he writes. That ship is about 20 meters long. Then let's look at some of the Indian ships of that period. Gamini, that's the Indian ship. That's about 35 meters long. The smallest of the Indian ships there. Tari, that's about 55 meters long. Jangala, that goes to about 65 meters long. Plavini, that comes to some 70 to 73 meters. Dharini, that's close to 80 meters. And finally Begini, that comes to 90 meters. So it's amazing that there were ships of this size that were there hardly 200-300 years back in India, when the rest of the world was talking about ship sizes of 25 meters, 30 meters, 30 meters as being the largest ships of the world. So two questions occurred to me. Why did India need such large ships? You don't build something so large, have technology to build it, technology apply them in the ocean. For what? You're not going to go to honeymoon in such large ships. So something more you should use them for. What? So you had technology, geometry, technology, architecture, building, woodcraft, a range of things and a need for it. What did they need it for? Of course, all the texts are there, what each portion of the ship is, everything is there, it's all there. And what they need it for? Obviously trade. Trading what? What did this land need it for trade for? They had a variety of trade. Spices is what we generally think of, but actually in my opinion, spices are a very small component of the trade. It's a very small component. What else did we trade in? With Europe or any other part of the world. Europe we primarily traded through Arabia because there was the port of call. Cicero, the Roman orator in the 1st century BC, he says, for the fine Indian cloth, Rome was sending almost 20 million gold coins back to India to bedeck the Roman women with Indian clothes. So textiles, garments of that value, that magnitude, that quantity is what India was trading in with the world. That needed huge, obviously you need, for taking bales and bales of cotton and fine goods, you needed that ship sizes obviously, and to take it all the way up to the Arabian coast and from there to go in caravans to Europe. That is a vibrant trade, and year after year, and 20 million gold coins is no small trade, even in those days terms or either in today's terms as well, I guess. And Pliny writes about it. That too, one more writer, it's not just one stray case. Every writer mentions it as to the muslin from India that needed. So all that is there. And till 1500s, it was Indian prints that were used predominantly in Europe. And what did they pay for apart from gold? They paid for it with pearl. The Indian prints was called Indian. Why did they pay for it with pearl? Any idea? India also had pearls. Thoothukudi, you had pearls. But why did they pay for it with pearls? For Indian cloth. Today, which is the most precious product in the world? Common product, of course you can say titanium, platinum, all those things, but common product that is traded. Beyond gold? Diamonds. Today, diamond is #1 in value, in common trade, right? In 1500s, diamond was a low 16th in value, in the pecking order of value. Only India valued diamonds. Europe did not value diamonds then. For them it was pearl, highest in the pecking order. So they paid the highest pecking order product for Indian cloth. That's what they paid for. That's why it was indigo. And indigo, what is indigo? I'm sure most of you know about it. Color, yes. So what about color?
Vegetable dye.
Vegetable dye, good. So what? So what's great about indigo? If India can make indigo, anywhere else in the world they can make indigo. Why is it so special?
It was grown here and you only knew how to extract it.
Sir?
It was grown in India and we knew how to extract it and give it also.
Good. Something more. Excellent. What is excellent?
It also.
Pardon?
Printing it.
Printing it. The point is indigo blue, shades of blue was not made anywhere else in the world except the Coromandel coast, primarily. It was famous. Actually, we mentioned it in our book Telugu, the lead is there. We have shown the whole set of drawings as how it was done in the Coromandel coast, indigo. And when the first person who cracked to make indigo, this whole process, how indigo is extracted in India for the last 4,000-5,000 years, the whole details available in this same book. You can see the process, how they made it, the chemical formulation, how they got it done, village after village. I mean, village after village, year after year, they're doing for 4,000, 5,000 years. Only place in the world, how they could do it. The VAT system, the process, everything is there. All the drawings are all there. And the first person to sort of break the monopoly of India was a person by name Adolf Bayer. And when he was able to break it, he was able to make indigo in Europe, artificial indigo obviously, not natural indigo. He was awarded the Nobel Prize. Yet every villager in India was making it year after year for 4,000 years, and unfortunately none of them have got the Nobel Prize. In every village they are making it, along the whole Coromandel coast. That's why it's called that which is obtained from India, that's why it's indigo. And most importantly, in the award that was given to him, it's clearly mentioned in the citation itself that it's given because indigo is a difficult dye to research, and that this research has its origins on the banks of the Ganges. That's what they mentioned in the citation. This was a product that India was giving. Like this, there are a range of products that India had to trade with the world for its prosperity purposes, because of which it had this large ships to trade. Any other products that you can think that India traded in a big way? I didn't give a clue 5 minutes back about something. So you can tell me when you have to stop my 20 minutes over, 25 minutes over, because I have got enough data to talk about for 500 hours. So you decide when do you want me to stop.
Handicrafts.
Handicrafts, yes.
Ivory, cute.
Ivory, okay, handicrafts, but something
Steel was
more
the-
heavy, bulky,
Steel was-
more in need. Handicrafts is an optional product.
Steel was taken to
Steel.
for making Damascus blades.
Damascus sword, excellent. Steel. When Alexander came to India, was defeated by Porus and sent back a defeated king. What did he ask from Porus? Not gold or silver, but he asked for wood steel. That's what he asked for and took back from India. He took back from India was what he took back was wood steel. 100 talents of wood steel. 100 talents is like what we have a tola in India. It's called talents in Greek measure, which is not recorded. That's what he took back from India, because for him, Indian steel was more valuable than gold or silver, or even because they didn't know the value of diamonds then, so he didn't want that. He wanted steel from India. Why? And who's recorded this? Quintus Curtius has recorded this. It's there in the Persian language. It's all there. Quintus has also recorded it. So, what is this wood steel? How did this word wood steel come from? Because I'm digressing from Enigmatic India, I hope it's okay. What does the wood steel come from? What is the wood steel? It's actually very high carbon steel. There's a process of making it all available with us, how it was made. It's also mentioned in one of the books there. The steel making process is there. The word woods itself, how they make the bloom. I'm sure there are quite a few engineers here who know all this. That's how it was done. How this wood steel comes from the Tamil, Kannada, Telugu word. Uruk means melt. And one of the earliest places where there was smelting has been now identified archaeologically is in a place called Kudumanal near Erode, well over 5,000 years back, 4,500 years to 5,000 years back. So all over it's got this. So this was they're making steel, and this was a steel that's so good that you need it for wars, for knives, swords, spears, everything you need the steel. Obviously, any of these wars across the world. So the best steel was from India. And as you correctly said, it's a Damascus sword. For example, even in Salahuddin, used that famous sword, Damascus sword. Especially the Arabs, when they fought, when they used to slash off somebody's head or throat, they used to say Jawab-e-Hind, meaning I reply you with an Indian answer. What's the Indian answer? The steel made of Indian, the sword made of Indian steel. So it's called Jawab-e-Hind. That is how they slash somebody else. So what does this mean? This means weight. Heavy steel, steel is heavy always. You need huge ships to carry the steel. That's what you needed. So obviously they needed navigation to carry it all the way to Arabia on one side, Southeast Asia, all over they needed this. And the word Damas means watery. Because that's what it means. Damas means the vaguely watery design. That's what the Damascus. So, because you just don't want the blade. How did it get this vaguely design is another thing. That's of course we get into technicalities there, which I don't want to now for a moment. Any questions? On any subject, please.
But you have not mentioned how India became poor. So you have been talking about prosperity.
They want to give us a feel good.
Yes, sir, that's right, feel good. Sure, I can do that. Another session for another.
Because that's what he started with. You said India was prosperous, but it has become poor.
Also poor. It's there in my book, U-Turn India, it's there, you can see. It's called U-Turn India because how India became poor, how you can turn India back to prosperity is what I've said there. See, basically, trade was one area. We lost out when the Europeans came here. Prior to that, when the Persians and Arabs came here, there were certain strategies that we lost out in. Repeated failures that happened over a period of 700, 800 years, which we lost out on. So those are cumulative factors that add up. But today when you see the last 20, 30 years or 40 years, when you see a resurgence in India, especially the last 20 years or so, many people have been surprised by this resurgence in India has come through. But personally, my wife and myself, after we done this research, we are not very surprised by this resurgence. Because there's something new that suddenly India has become richer. Innately this land is rich. Just that you've been plundered for some time. And today, you have the capacity to become rich. Unfortunately, our politicians are not allowing it to happen. By scam after scam. As simple as that.
Colgate.
You call it Binaka, you call it Colgate, you call it 4 hands. We have one gate. We have no gates that are closed. All gates are open. They've been open for the last few hundred years. Unfortunately,
All
that's a
the
fact.
gold coins we received from Rome are going back to Rome.
Oh, they went back to Rome long back. And no, we did give it back long back, and we're giving back more.
Now more.
Okay, incidentally, one of the British authors, I think Elphinstone or somebody, does write. I got the quote. If I have time, I can show it to you. It's there in my book, U-Turn India. The only way you can circulate back wealth in the world is by plundering India. That's what he writes. The quote is there in my book, U-Turn India. That's what he writes. Actually, you cannot circulate back wealth unless you plunder the land. The statement made in writing. I found this in the East India Office Dungeons Library in London. This particular quote. We sat there, we go there every 2-3 years, we go sit there for a couple of months and do research from the archives. Because we get a lot of data there, insights into what we're doing. Unfortunately, true. And the amount of wealth that's been scammed away from India in the last 4 or 5 decades is mind-boggling. Just mind-boggling. We got the data, I can show it to you if you want. The endless scams going on. Look at this. This is just a guesstimate. In 2009, since then 4 years, a lot more has flown away from India. Look at the other countries to India. All other countries put together also don't match India in the amount of money that's gone out of India. Okay? It's there in a book called U-Turn India with all the data. How it's going out and how we can stop it. That also we have discussed in the book.
How do we stop it?
Swiss bank.
See, I look at it as 3 waves of plunder basically. I look at it as, explain as 3 waves of plunder. First wave of plunder is that happened from the near west. Starting with Muhammad of Ghori Ghazni and ending with Nadir Shah. 4 or 5 people only plundered India. Because they came, took money and went back. They didn't live in the land. In between, the Tughlaqs to Lodis to the Mughals, all the kings, came to India, lived here, born here, taxed the land, serviced the land, lived here. So they did not kill the golden goose. So we had one way of plunder that was about 5-7 kings that came and went away. Others all lived here. The second one is the plunder from far west. The Portuguese, the British, the Dutch, others who came, over a period of 250 or 300 years they plundered. The third way of plunder is we plundering ourselves, which we call, that's why we call it the reversible third way of plunder, because the first way of plunder, the money is all gone in the Persian, Arabian, and from there on into the Mediterranean economy is gone off there, so you can't get it back. It's untraceable now. Second way of plunder has again gone into building the metros of London and there on and all over, building England and Europe and the Industrial Revolution. It's gone off there. So we can't get it back. Obviously, it's all mixed in the world economy. But there's a third way of plunder is available in bank accounts in about 77 different countries, tax havens. Of course, they keep moving from A to B, B to C, C to D, D to E. But it's all available there. It's a question of the will of the land, of the people, to effort to bring it back. It's available, it can be brought back. Yes, not the whole of it, at least a good portion of it. That's why we say you turn India in our book. It's called, yes, we can turn India around. That's why we say that. So, yes, and how it can be brought back to this land, to be used to this land. That is possible. That's one of the possibilities we can do. So, let's not cry over spilled milk, what's happened. Let's look at the future as to how we can make this land back prosperous once again. Any other questions, sir?
Hari, we had a wonderful sea power, but why we are not invaded any other country in those days? When there were all these people invaded, why the English and all these things, they had a
good question, sir. Huh? One of the, I'll take the, one of the Chinese ambassadors to America. He made a wonderful statement about this. I will take refuge in it, then I'll come back to your answer. I can answer you specifically, yes. It should be one of my links. This, I think, the Chinese ambassador Su Hu or something, right? What he said is, India has conquered China for 20 centuries without ever sending one soldier over there. We didn't send a soldier. But culturally we dominated China, we enriched China for over 20 centuries. The very word Mandarin comes from the word mantri, the root of the word. China means that's to the east, China is that's to the east. So we culturally, yes, whole of Southeast Asia, all the inscriptions are in Sanskrit language or in Grantha language. Whole of Southeast Asia. So all over the world, yes, we made it enrich the people. That's why we use the phrase called Krinvanto Vishwamaryam. We go and enrich the places. Arya means enrich. I mean, make the place noble. We were not interested in plundering a land for the wealth of that land. Because India itself was wealthy by itself. See, Europe when it was coming out of dark ages had fought a 1,000-year bloody war, brother killed brother, village, one village killed other village, from all for the purpose of one faith overcoming the other faith. Because they wanted to finish off paganism, pagan thought. So that was the thought there. So, and then expansionist mode came up.
What happened to Rajaraja Chola and Rajendra Chola?
The only king, see, I read in the internet very often, India never invaded any land in the last 5,000 years. That is not right, because the only king who really invaded across the seas was Rajaraja Chola and Rajendra Chola, who went up to Malaysia, Singapore, all the Thailand areas, present areas. Up to even Mauritius, Maldives, everything. Because inscriptions are available there, I can show you all those things. The point is, but they are the only ones who did that. But not to plunder, but to conquer it as their part of their kingdom. See, whereas Indian thought has never been to go and plunder them. Whereas Indian thought has been to share the knowledge. Because this land has already been wealthy. Whereas what you're sharing is knowledge. That's why it's called Bharat, the land of knowledge. What you share is knowledge. That's how this land was given itself the name Bharat. See, you should understand the ethos, the psychology of the land, of the people who lived in it. You went to China, again not to plunder over the Himalayas, right from Bodhidharma, who went from Kanchipuram here, many people have gone. You have got the film, so many things. But all Hyun Sang, whose now tomb is being destroyed. So many people have come and gone, exchange has happened. But there's all cultural exchange. Whole of Southeast Asia, Angkor Wat. You didn't go and conquer Cambodia. Rishi Kaundinya went and settled there and made the people more noble. You went to Indonesia, Suvarna Bhumi. You got the Samudra Manthan concept all over there, Angkor Thom, Angkor Wat. Of course, today's airport in Bangkok has got the Samudra Manthan image. That's another thing. That's a new one in the last 1 decade. But Angkor Thom, Angkor Wat, the largest Angkor Thom city, is whole design on the concept of Samudra Manthan. It's not just a Deva Asura Manthan. That's just an allegorical way of saying it. It's a churning of the mind, churning of thought, churning of ideas. That's a Manthan. The Samudra is not just the sea there, in the limited sense of the word. It's a much larger frame of the thought. The thought churning happens. That was the evolved nature of the land. Yes, sir. Shall we wind up?
Yeah, okay, we are included.
So, like this, there are so many things, so many areas we could discuss about. And we have a range of subjects that we deal with, about 108 subjects of them, including subjects like historical Rama, where we have, you could see our film, it's called Rama Setu, an engineering marvel on YouTube. The moment you click YouTube, you'll get our film, you'll see that. YouTube, you just click Rama Setu, you'll see our film on that. So, we've got a whole host of products you can see there. We have dealt in a range of subjects. For example, right from the divinities, which are all nature-based, to the festivals of the land, creation, or people talk about God particle. In the last 6 months, 1 year, the same team who have identified the God particle, we did a film with them on the from the Nasadi Sukta of the Rig Veda about the creation, Shishti. It's a book and film called Creation. We have done that. We've got a whole range of subjects we have done with a variety of scholars the world over, sharing the knowledge of the land. It's not to say that, okay, you've done something with God particle, we have something about it before that. No. The idea is again to share knowledge with the world at large. That's been the initiative that we have started, our effort, Bharatyan, the journey that's gone on for the last 13 years.
What is your infrastructure for filmmaking?
We have a proper studio in Bangalore, in association with the Art of Living. We're making films now. We made about 5 films. 2 of them are available here in multiple languages. We make films. Apart from that, we have written about 10 books. That's also there. I can show you that. So we are planning to make a lot more. Actually, we have made 3 books on Rama. One is called Historical Rama, where we look at Rama, where we look at Mr. Rama, son of Mrs. Kausalya and Mr. Dasratha, was born in this land, a king. If Akbar was born in this land and was a king of this land, so was Rama. Because we looked at it from that perspective. Then we wrote another book called Ayodhya, War and Peace, where unfortunately communities are torn today between these problems. So is there a way instead of being an exclusive view, it can be an inclusive view where, after all, we are not brethren. How do we live together? What's the real situation? Through history, how can we bring people together? That's what we look at in that book. Fortunately, unfortunately, both the books are now documents in Supreme Court of India, in both the cases. And we wrote a book for the Sri Lankan government. It's called Ramayana and Lanka, where we look at the perspective of Ramayana from Lanka perspective, where Ravana is a hero and Rama is aggressor. That's a perspective. That's a book that we wrote for the Sri Lankan government. Because he's the hero of the land. Albeit for one mistake. Otherwise, he was a great man, absolutely, one of the greatest men that Sri Lanka could have ever produced. No doubt about it. Not just because he was Shiva, qualities wise, capabilities wise, albeit for one mistake. That mistake emanating from his over-loving system. That was the reason. Then we also got films in multiple languages on the subject, on historical Rama. Then we made a book and a film called Creation of the Universe, how this universe was created from multiple perspectives, including the Indian perspective, the science, each component of it. right from Veda all over. Then the concept of Shiva. Who is this Shiva? Is it a concept or historical person of what? What's the science behind it? It's more from a particle physics perspective of Shiva. That's what you've done. Then U-Turn India is the book that we wrote a few years back. Instantly, a person by name Sri Anna Hazare happened to read this book, found it fascinating. Our book happened to help the movement in the early days of it, fuel the movement in the early days of it. Because we gave enough content there in it from a multiple perspectives. So we are happy that we did contribute something to the understanding of India by the youth of the land. Whether the movement personally fizzled off or not, it's a different issue. But we have contributed to that, is what we are satisfied about. And we wrote another book about last year, about the year 2012. Of course, this book is out of print now. About whether the world will end or not, or what happens, etc. The whole concept of it. And we show the link between India and ancient Central America. The Mayans of India and the Mayans of Central America. Mayans, Aztec, Inca. That's what we've done in that. We have done, and Telugu Tali is one more book that we wrote about the Telugu land, the prosperity of the Telugu land. I don't know if there are any Telugus here in this audience. Then probably you could see that. It's been very well received. Telugu. So we have written a whole host of books. These are available all over. A couple of copies. Apart from this, we're also active on Twitter. It's at Bharatya, on Facebook, and the blog. We read a lot of articles, especially on water harnessing. We have read a lot of articles on the Kaveri issue, to a whole host of them. And the water mining that's happening, especially in North India, to in South India, a whole host of subjects written on. 100 plus subjects written articles, trying to enthuse people, the youth of the land. Primarily, that's what we're trying to bring about. And using the art of living as a platform where to reach out to people.
Hari, you have done a lot of research throughout India. I'm very happy. But only thing is, Tamil Nadu also is one of the ancient land, with one of the ancient languages, Tamil. And we got history, Sangagalam and all these things.
I have a position called
Have you
Tamil.
done anything on Tamil history?
Yes, sir. I have a full capsule called Tamil Culture Prosperity. I have a 7-minute film. If you want, you can see it on Tamil Culture Prosperity. You want to put it on? A 7-minute film?
We're running out of time.
Yes, we are running out of time. Thank you so much.
Interact with it separately.
Yeah, we can do that. And I'm writing a book on Tamil
What
Culture.
are you making for one more year?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.